We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxing Ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. I am back with some surprising news. Rather surprising. Dana White, UFC promoter, slapbox or a slap promoter, and he's getting into the world of boxing. First foray into boxing is Terence Crawford moving up to fight Canelo. Baby, you want baby? I know that. In this new interview, Dana White said something that I found rather shocking, and I haven't seen really many people talking about it. So I will use my channel to go over it. Dana White on Canelo Crawford fight being at Allegiant Stadium. Quote, I hate it. In a surprising turn of events, UFC Prez, Dana White has been thrust into the role high stakes boxing, Canelo Crawford, September 12th. Despite this honor, White expressed his disdain for stadium events, stating emphatically, I hate it. This unexpected collaboration highlights the intricate dynamics of boxing promotion under the influence of international partners like Riyadh season, Turkey Al-Sheikh, setting the stage for an intriguing fight that coincides with UFC Noche. Dana White, UFC president, made it clear he is not a fan of hosting events in large venues like stadiums. His aversion seems to stem over concerns over logistics and overall production experience. We'll get to that. White's dissatisfaction. I can't get no satisfaction. His dissatisfaction was evident when he stated emphatically, I hate it, during the interview. He expressed that despite his personal feelings, he feels compelled to make Canelo Crawford unforgettable experience at Allegiant Stadium. As a result, fans can expect White to leverage his extensive experience in event management to enhance the atmosphere for a monumental boxing match. Stadium events, however, proven successful in boxing, 65,000 without major complaints. The event suggests while White may dislike the format, it also has the potential to deliver thrilling spectacles for fans. As preparations for September super fight intensify, boxing community is keen to see if White's stewardship will help the transformation of stadium events. Promotion for Canelo Crawford raises questions, decision-making dynamics behind the events, location, and date. Speculation suggests White's disapproval may stem from pressures exerted by his Saudi partner, particularly Riyadh season Turkey Al-Sheikh, who recently announced White's promotional role. Furthermore, rumors point to Netflix potentially broadcasting the fight, adding another layer of complexity to the program and promotional logistics. As fight fans await, White is reportedly working diligently to ensure that the event adheres to both the expectations and the partner for sports combat, blah, blah, blah. Now, the moment you guys have all been waiting for, the ego thoughts. To me, this is bad. This is a bad look. And I tell you guys, I am the best in the business, and it's not even close. And you got to look at the red flags and also look at the warning signs, right? I feel like the weatherman of boxing, where I give you guys the forecast. Some people accept it. Some people go against it. The resistance goes against it. But then more often than not, my assessments turn out to be pretty accurate, right? And for me, these are not good early warning signs. First of all, just the fight. I told you, I'm not really keen on the fight. I'll watch it just because it's two names that I've been following their career ever since pretty much the inception. And, you know, people are saying it's a big fight, but I don't like the fight. I don't like weight class jumping like this. Furthermore, Canelo, as you see in this picture, he was hitting fresh air, and he fought William Skull just like Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia the day before fighting on the same card, it was supposed to enhance or uplift or build and make people want to see a Haney-Garcia rematch, but it repelled them and did the opposite because Ryan loses, gets dropped by Rolly Romero, a massive underdog, and now he's a champion. So Ryan's never been a champion. And Devin, a lot of people just said he ran and wasn't engaging with a dead man in Jose Ramirez, where they thought he could have did more. The very next day, same thing. Canelo Alvarez, you're fighting a guy nobody wanted to see you fight. Nobody. And you picked him anyway, instead of Jake Paul or whoever else, David Benavidez. And then now you didn't even look good versus him. I'm telling you, bro, I really didn't like Crawford moving up to this weight because with no tune-ups and stuff like that. But Canelo looks so bad to me where I've had to reconsider. Crawford has a definite chance with the version of Canelo that I've seen. Timing is everything in boxing. And Crawford, he's a hell of a fighter. So I didn't like what I seen from Canelo. Lazy, lethargic, and some people come up with these weird conspiracy, he did it to attract and look vulnerable. I don't believe in that. I think you should look good. Like, I don't put out decoy videos, like videos that are utter trash, in lowered quality, just to get people to think I fell off or something. Like, that's just stupid. When you're cut from the Black Mamba mentality, right, you just do your best every time out. You know what I mean? So I don't believe in, the fighter took punches for the crowd. You took punches because you have a leaky defense. Canelo wanted to look vulnerable to catch Crawford. Because why, like, for real, why would Canelo have to even do all this extra for the guy who's moving up in weight? Why do you have to look vulnerable for him? And why didn't you do it for Jermell Charlo? Similar situation, coming from 54 to 168. Why didn't you try to look insanely before the Jermell Charlo fight? So that's just what it is. But the other red flag, Dana White is telling you, I hate stadium events. That doesn't sound good. Say what you will, say what you want. A guy who isn't a long time in the boxing space in recent memory, Turkey has all these like ideas, and then instead of using Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn or whatever, PBC working with them, like broadcasters, top rank, anybody, broadcasters who have experience in the bigger fights, right? I've never heard Eddie Hearn complain about a stadium event because he does them pretty frequently in the UK with Anthony Joshua. Frank Warren's done them with Tyson Fury and stuff like that, right? You never really hear them complain about doing stadium fights. PBC, they've done stadium fights with Errol Spence, right? Ugas and Errol Spence, Danny Garcia and Mikey Garcia. Never once complained. Dana White's new to the boxing space again, right? And he has arguably one of the bigger fights, this year, and with two names, and he's already complaining about not liking it logistically. And I understand it because I understand the more people, the bigger the space, the more, sound checks, and it's just more intensive. It's like you could be a successful club promoter, right? And if you're a club promoter and you're doing it in a small club, that's all fine and dandy. But if you have a mansion and you throw a party in a mansion, that's going to be harder than that small, rickety, hole in the wall club that you're used to. It's just, it creates a different thing. It's like, almost think of it like an actor, right? Where you can have an actor and put them in a bit role in a movie, let's say as comedy relief, right? And the person's screen time is 15 minutes total, and the audience loves this comedic character, right? But again, 2 hour and 10-minute movie, they have 15 minutes of total screen time. So in that capacity, it could very well work. But then if the producers and director sees that the audience likes this character that's been in the movie for 15 minutes, and then they try to build a whole 2-hour movie around that character, that's something different. You guys get what I'm saying? Because now that one character, it was great on screen in his bit role, but that doesn't mean it is going to work as a full-length feature film by itself. And there's many characters in movies that I think were good and the audience received well, but that doesn't mean you could give them a whole movie, right? Like think of, for example, Ezell in Friday. Rest in peace to AJ Johnson. Ezell in Friday. He played the crackhead in the Friday movie. My neck, my back, my neck and my back. Oh, I'm suing for $150,000. But we can settle out of court right now for $20. Great. He did amazing. One of the most memorable characters, very quoted character. But then that don't mean you can make a whole movie about Ezell and follow the chronicles of a crackhead through Compton and have it be as funny or successful as the actual movie Friday. Or take Felicia. Bye, Felicia. Craig, let me borrow your microwave. I'm gonna give it back, right? You know what I mean? You could take these bit role characters. I don't know if you could make a whole movie with just Felicia, you know what I mean? Like the crackhead role. So I get it. Stadium fights is like a full-length feature film versus a bit role or a short film. So it's more complications, more headache, more people, all that type of stuff. And the other thing, man, I'm not trying to be negative. I have no reason to. I'm boxing ego, right? But I really don't have good vibes about this fight at all. And I do something a lot of people are too like insecure or cowardly or whatever to do, which is to rely on pure intuition. I believe we as humans have been provided instincts for a reason. And me, I take advantage of them. I take advantage of these instinctual. I feel like a true animal. You know what I mean? Like a lion, you don't got to tell a lion it's time to eat. You know, you don't have to tell a lion when it's time to fight and protect the pride and stuff like that. It's pure instinct. You know what I mean? Or a gazelle run away and they start chasing. That's instinct. You know what I mean? And for me, I'm animalistic in that regard. And I rely heavily, even on the channel, and you guys will see it if you watch enough of my content, I rely a lot on intuition. And I'm telling you, my intuition for this fight is not good because I think it's already off to the wrong foot. You already got a fight that arguably shouldn't be happening because of the weight disparity. Canelo, as I said earlier, did not look good in his previous fight with William Skull, right? You have a black fighter and a Mexican fighter, so there's other issues that will arise, like the race fans and almost like a race war in the comment section. And you can say that's me being negative or whatever, but I call it being realistic because I know this sport, right? So you're going to have the race fans at each other, you know what I mean, saying racial things. And then on top of it, Dana White's like, I hate stadiums. That's just, you're going into the fight with kind of negative energy by even putting that on wax. I believe in the power of words and affirmations, and you speak things into existence. You have the promoter who hasn't promoted any fight to this magnitude in boxing. UFC is a whole different sport with a whole different crowd, period. It's a whole different octagon, not the same as a boxing ring. Fighting with only your two hands and then your feet can put you in position, but it's not the same as kicking and elbowing and armbar submissions and rear naked chokes and stuff. Totally different sport. So Turkey is giving the reins to a person who is competent in the UFC world, but that doesn't necessarily translate to success in the boxing world, right? Just because you've been successful in the UFC, different crowd, different sport, different expectation, right? And now you got these names and you already complain about, I don't like it. I don't like fighting in stadiums and doing the logistics. And the other thing for me is, it is very apparent there. Listen, I'm the only chance of hope in this game right now because I haven't sold my soul, right? Other people have sold out for the cash or for a look or opportunity. So people aren't going to tell you what I'm saying about the whole Turkey situation. And the reality is Turkey has the money to get certain things done, but he's still pretty novice in terms of like how boxing runs and stuff. And it shows like, oh, let's put a whole bunch of money between the Crawford Madrimov fight. All right, you did that, painted the steps. You had people walking around. You had Eminem perform, and you had these walking human billboards, all these things. And then they said the fight lost $10 million. Same thing with UFC Spear. You put in like 20 some odd $1 million to make it happen. And no UFC fighter is calling the Sean O'Malley Merab Sphere card the first fight in the Sphere. No one is saying that this was my favorite UFC fight in the last year or so, right? So you did all this. It's like you wasted all this money and it wasn't worth the actual hassle because it didn't lead to the product. Same thing with Times Square. I mean, just look at the track record, bro, right? Times Square, people felt ripped off. William Skull, Canelo, people felt ripped off. These were not good cards, right? So you're like, oh, we're going to fight in the center of the ring. Then you have people who say, hey, I flew into New York expecting it was open to the public, and then come to find out it wasn't open to the public. So you have all these ideas like fighting Alcatraz, fighting these big spectacle stadiums and stuff, but you have to understand boxing. You know what I mean? You have to understand the supply and demand. I feel like if ever there was a recent stadium fight, it would be more Canelo versus David Benavidez. You're trying so hard to make Canelo a breadwinning star, and I just don't know. I don't prove, he hasn't proven that. You know what I mean? To be like this bankable Tom Cruise, Will Smith in the 90s, bankable star, right? Great fighter, but not necessarily the guy you turn to for blockbuster events. Now, Canelo, he has been that, but I think some people are slowly but surely kind of falling off the Canelo wagon with his choices, not fighting Benavidez, ducking him, and picking and choosing who he wants, smaller guys. So I think people are kind of growing tired of Canelo in general. It's like Canelo fatigue, right? And then it's just so many different variables. I could go on and on. Instead of the promoters that have been heavily working with Turkey, like Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren, who have experience with at least Wilder Furies and Fury Usyks and Anthony Joshua Klitschko, you are giving this to Dana White, who virtually in the world of boxing in the last 10 years, he can't say he's been involved in more than one big boxing fight, and that was Mayweather versus McGregor. And I don't even think the UFC truly wanted that fight to happen, but it was just a lot of money and opportunity. But either way, Showtime really ran that in Al Heyman, and they did the logistics. So they have experience with big Floyd fights and stuff like that, so they didn't really have to worry about it. But then again, you're also talking about putting this Crawford Canelo fight on Netflix, which Netflix, when they had the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight, hi, it's me, Mike Tyson. I come from the Catskill. I'm from the mountains. I'm about to fight Jake Paul on Netflix, right? That fight had some logistical issues and technical issues with the supply and demand. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it will be on Netflix, but there were issues with the last sporting event that they just did on Netflix, for sure. People said, oh, like I even had issues. And I was with the watch party, and I have Netflix. I have a paid Netflix account, and there were still issues logging on. Then it wouldn't let me log back on. They couldn't control the traffic. So again, you're dealing with a lot of people who, in my opinion, they don't have this level of experience in this arena. Netflix is great. Everybody has Netflix in America, basically, but they don't have a long-standing track record of live sporting events. And I'm telling you, it's like photography, right? If you do wedding photography, you could be a master at that, right? And I'm talking to you as somebody who's actually picked up a camera and does photography and does videography, right? And edits. So I'm telling you firsthand. But anyway, let's say you're a photographer and you do weddings and engagement photos, right? That's cool because wedding and engagement photos, not necessarily weddings as much, but definitely engagement photos, it is more static. You can pose the people, you can kind of get there early, wait for the sun to set, and you can pose your clients how you want. Like, hey, get on your knee and I'm gonna shoot some pictures, blah, blah, blah. Very controlled, right? Even a wedding is not as controlled, but if you've done wedding like videography or photography, if you know what to look for, you can kind of capture the moment because it's not really fast paced. I've never really seen a wedding or filmed a wedding where the bride ran down like Stone Cold Steve Austin or the Ultimate Warrior. You know what I mean? It's usually a slow dun 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 dun. So it's like a slow controlled so you can get the shots you need. People exchanging vows, you can take a bunch of pictures. However, a sporting event, live sports, totally different. Because if Steph Curry shoots a crazy shot from half court on a buzzer beater, to capture that moment, you have to capture it in the moment. And these are split second decisions. Steph Curry's going to pull up and bow. So either you got the shot or you didn't. You dig? So it's way different. You got to be like more of a marksman when it comes to live sporting event and capturing it, because a knockout, if you're a photographer and you're chimping and looking at the shots you've done and you look down for a minute, boom, Wilder just knocked somebody out and you missed it, right? So live sporting is much harder to control because it's uncontrollable and unpredictable, right? You can't predict exactly what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. That's why I seen Dana White, he had made a comment about how Showtime's production is lacking or something like that. And Power Slap, they always get multiple angles and put it on social media. That is so much easier because you have two people at a podium and it's a certain rules, and then they're taking turns slapping each other and seeing who comes out on top. That's so much easier than Crawford. Let's say he's moving around the ring using his legs, Canelo hunting him down, and let's say Canelo got caught with the check hook or something, right? That's different. You don't know where they're going to be when that moment happens, as opposed to Power Slap. You're holding that thing at the podium and take a turn slapping each other. So we'll see. We'll see if Boxing Ego is right, but the early indications for me are not good. 1, Dana White complaining. 2, Canelo didn't look good in his last fight with Skull. 3, you got a race war that will brew. 4, it's a stadium fight, bigger, more things that could go wrong. 5, you have a level of inexperience in terms of like these big events in boxing. Again, UFC, different. Octagon, different size, all that. So I'm anxious to see how this is going to play out. I truly am. But there's definitely going to be complications. If they do a great job, per usual, your boy Ego will give credit where credit's due. The other issue, I truly believe that Turkey has all these like weird ideas, and because he's reviving some of these promoters' businesses and dumping money into things and assuming the cost and liability of certain things, and people are able to get paid for not having to take the risk. Like before, if Eddie Hearn had to do a Anthony Joshua versus whoever, an Anthony Joshua fight, he's assuming his company they're assuming some of the risk. But if Turkey is pretty much putting on the fight and paying the fighters and he's doing the logistics, then that's easy. He gets like not free money, but he gets money for not having to assume the same risk, if that makes sense to you, right? So with that being said, Turkey is dumping money into these guys' events right now, and I don't think anyone wants to say no. So if he has a cockamamie idea, let's fight on the Statue of Liberty, Eiffel Tower, Empire State Building, everybody's just gonna go with it, like Times Square. They're gonna be like, yeah, this is a great idea, Turkey. I see the vision. Times Square is gonna be remarkable. And then the fight happens and is not memorable. But they were all the promoters were saying this was going to be a never to miss, unforgettable event that everyone's going to be talking about 40, 50 years from now. And then everybody hated like all the fights on the card. So I highly doubt 50 years from now, people are going to be talking about that in a positive light. You know what I mean? Because it didn't deliver. And then now, no fights in boxing have taken place in the Allegiant Stadium where the former Oakland Raiders, Vegas Raiders play. You know what I mean? And then now, again, you have the promoter who's superseded and become the lead promoter on this over Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, and other guys that have been working. And even DAZN. Like DAZN put all this energy into past Canelo fights and this, that, and the third, right? And then now if you take the fight to Netflix, they did all this stuff to like hype up Canelo, put on his weaker fights like Skull, and then you have a bigger fight with Crawford, and then you take it to Netflix. So I can't wait, bro. I can't wait to see how it plays out. Y'all can keep doubting me and keep doubting my instinct. And ultimately, I don't really care because it's going to be shown. I'm going to be right or I'm going to be wrong, and it's going to be shown over time. But it's some of these things aren't really adding up. Again, DAZN put all this energy into Canelo fights, and then you possibly take the fight to DAZN, off platform, and put it on Netflix, which I ain't mad at it. I have Netflix, but I'm saying from the promotional standpoint of DAZN, you kind of backdoored them. And then you kind of backdoored your promoters, the Frank Warrens and Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn has a relationship with Canelo Alvarez. You have him doing all these other fights, but then when it comes to one of Canelo's, if not, this would probably be Canelo's biggest fight, non-PBC, and then you give it to Dana White, who's already kind of complaining about it being a headache. I can't wait for it, bro. I literally can't wait for it. We'll see, we'll ultimately see how it plays out. Best of luck to everybody, but I'm already looking at some of the early warning signs. And I was very skeptical with the Sphere too. And I was right there because I don't think the Sphere fight card, that wasn't legendary. Nobody really talking about Merab and Sean O'Malley, the first one, so they did all this Sphere stuff and put all this money in it, and it didn't live up to the expectation. That's what this is about. It's about having a hype event and then actually living up or exceeding the expectations of the fan. So far, Turkey, most of his events haven't. And then the ones that have been better weren't hyped up the same. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like weird. Kind of weird how it's played out, but that is the So let me know what you guys think in the comment section. We unpack. Live streaming can be tough, which is why I use StreamYard. Click the link in the description for StreamYard, which is an awesome tool that enables you to set up your stream with ease of use. Get great results with live streaming. It's what I use. Stream to social media with ease with StreamYard. Live streaming is here to stay. Engage with your audience using StreamYard. Great way to reach out to your audience and connect. So you need a tool that can do that. If you're new to YouTube and you're struggling to get views, one tool I can provide to you is TubeBuddy. I've been on YouTube over 10 years. I use TubeBuddy daily to crank out videos just like this one that you're watching. Learn how the pros do it with TubeBuddy. YouTube receives a lot of traffic, which also means a lot of creators, a lot of people putting out content. So you need to learn the ropes so you know how to separate yourself, especially if you're new. But even if you're a pro, use TubeBuddy. The link is in the description. Get more views, more subscribers, and a higher click-through rate. So ultimately you can realize all of your online goals. Use my affiliate link in the description and grow your channel fast.